Good morning, good afternoon if this is period 4. The days that I'm not in here, I create lessons that you do need to learn, and I create lessons that you are able to learn. So you are responsible for knowing that material. So 45, 45, 90 triangles, I was here with you, and I'm going to go over that. But 30, 60, 90 triangles is the investigation that you did on Tuesday. So while I'm going to go over that, you also should have learned it on Tuesday by doing your investigation. And I do hold you accountable for learning that stuff. So on a 45, 45, 90 triangle, if we're going from the hypotenuse to one of the legs, we divide by the square root of 2. If we're going from a leg to the hypotenuse, we just do the opposite, which would be times the square root of 2. So let's just look at a couple of those real quickly. So if this is 3 times the square root of 6, and we need to find that, so we just go 3 times the square root of 6 times the square root of 2. That would be 3 times the square root of 12. And then, of course, I would want you to simplify that. 12 would be 2 and 6. 6 would be 2 and 3. And that would be 3 times the square root of 2 times 2 times 3. And, of course, we could bring out a 2. So we end up with 6 times the square root of 3. Okay? And so that is if we're going from one of the legs to the hypotenuse. And you can always ask for a pause. There's more, if you need time to ask questions. But the other way around, if we're going from the hypotenuse to the leg, we divide, by the square root of 2. So we got 12 times the square root of 10, all divided by the square root of 2. So let's go ahead and multiply that by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, which actually equals 1. So we now have 12 times the square root of 20 all over 2. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce right now. 12 and 2 reduces to 6 times the square root of 20. 20 is, sorry about that. 20 is 4 times 5. 4 is 2 and 2. And so I've got, let's get some more space here. So I've got 6 times the square root of 2 times 2 times 5. And of course the 2's come out. Times the square root of 5. Okay, so that's a very quick review on 45, 45, 90 triangles. And like I said, we've done that before. And 30, 60, 90 triangles is the investigation that you just did Tuesday. So if this is 90 degrees, and this is 30 right here, well, we know that 90 plus 30 is 120. We know a triangle has 180, so subtract 120. We're left with 60. We know that has to be a 60-degree angle. And so we have a special triangle, which is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have a hypotenuse, a short leg, and a long leg. A hypotenuse, a short leg, and a long leg. Okay, and let's see. The short leg is always 1/2 the hypotenuse. And the long leg is always the short leg times the square root of 3. These things are always true. Okay? These things are always true in a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So, if, for example, I were to give you this, and I were to say find x and y, sorry about that. Give me a second, please. We're having some freezing issues. I will take a sip of my coffee. Okay, sorry about that. I know it's kind of crazy. See if this works. All right, so here's the information we have. And I know right here, it says the long leg equals the short leg times the square root of 3. Let's just plug in what we have. The long leg is 9. So I'm solving for the short leg. I need to get short leg by itself. I hope there's no jokes out there about Eckert and short leg. Divide by the square root of 3, divide by the square root of 3. Those cancel. Short leg equals 9 divided by the square root of 3. But, as you know, we can't have a square root down there. So let's do this. Nine times the square root of 3 all over 3, and then of course we can reduce. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. So our answer is 3 times the square root of 3 for the short leg. So this would be 3 times the square root of 3. And now I need to get the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse equals twice the short leg, because the short leg is half the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse equals 2 times 3 times the square root of 3. And the hypotenuse, 2 times 3 is 6 times the square root of 3. Notice that when I distribute, I only multiply that. You can't multiply 2 times the square root of 3 and get the square root of 6. That would be wrong. And so the hypotenuse is 6 times the square root of 3. Again, if there's any time that you need this to be paused or rewound, just ask Ms. Moreno to do that for you. And I'm going to go over one more just to show you that there's slightly different ways of doing this. That was 30. There's our right angle. Okay, so let's say that instead of being given the long leg, we're actually given the hypotenuse. Okay, and it says to find x and y. Well, given the hypotenuse, I know that half of the hypotenuse equals the short leg. So if the hypotenuse equals, if half of the hypotenuse equals the short leg, then half of 10 times the square root of 4 equals the short leg. Again, I do the half there, not there. So half of 10 is 5 times the square root of 4 equals the short leg. Okay, so that's 5 times the square root of 4. I'm erasing, so if you need a pause, make sure you ask. Okay, so now the long leg is the short leg times the square root of 3. Square root of 4 times square root of 3 is square root of 12. Wonder if we could simplify that. Square root of 2 times 2 is actually the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10 times the square root of 3. 2 comes out. 2 times 5 is 10. Square root of 3 is left inside. Okay, so if you went through the investigation on Tuesday, you probably have a better understanding of this. If you did not, if you chose to not use that time valuably, then your understanding of this may be a little shaky. But that will be a reminder that the next time that I am not here and there's an investigation, you should go through it. Thanks for paying attention.